Welcome to the Learn True Health podcast. I'm your host, Ashley James. This is episode 7.
We're usually walking around stuck in our habits. We don't even know that we are because that's the nature of a habit. So this technique is designed to break up these habitual patterns and introduce new ways of functioning so that we're not so tied to our habits that might not be working for us, even if we don't know why.
Our guest today is an expert in movement, the body, and how the quality of a person's movement directly affects their quality of life. Peggy Protz has been a professional dancer, a pilates instructor, and since 2002 has been a Feldenkrais practitioner. Welcome to the show. I'm really excited to interview you today.
Oh, thank you. I'm really excited to be here.
Excellent. So for those who have never heard of Feldenkrais, what is it?
Well, it has a funny name because it's named after its inventor, Moshe Feldenkrais, who was a physicist. He also was an engineer and a black belt in judo, so the technique has a lot of basis in martial arts and physics and just how we function in gravity. He also studied how children move and learn to walk. And so a lot of the things that we do are based on developmental movements, kind of reintroducing that to us as adults so that we can kind of reconnect to moving with ease as we did when we were young. I guess you could say it's kind of a bodywork technique that works with movement and just how learning to be more attuned to your body, kind of knowing where it is in space. If you've had injuries or other accidents or health issues, oftentimes our movement is really connected to many other different problems that we might have because, we have to move around in this world. So a lot of times learning to move more efficiently and use your body more efficiently can resolve a lot of health issues like, even like your knee pain could be related to like how you hold your shoulder or something like that.
So like if someone has had an injury, then their gait the way they walk can be affected even years later, like they're holding on to that memory of that injury, protecting something that doesn't need protection anymore, and they don't even realize they're doing it. Yeah,
exactly. It kind of you ended up maybe compensating unconsciously, or maybe you went to the physical therapist and kind of the injury actually healed, but there may be like other things that you have done to limit yourself to kind of mentally protect that area that kind of maybe crop up later in your life. It's also extremely excellent technique for helping people with neurological challenges like MS and people recovering from strokes and things like anything that affects the way you move and the way your brain and muscles connect to each other. It's very effective for anything like that. So.
Do people who are in pain, like chronic pain, do they often find relief through seeing a Feldenkrais practitioner?
Oh yeah. I work with a lot of people of like back pain, neck pain, shoulder pain. Like I've had many clients who have had this frozen shoulder problem and who've not had success with traditional physical therapy. Because it's kind of, the technique is a little different than say traditional physical therapy or some other ways of looking at the body. It kind of like looks at the whole system and how everything could be affected by, you might be having pain in one area, but that's maybe not where the problem is. It's how the whole system kind of has to coordinate. Oftentimes people coming in with chronic pain, they're very focused on the place that really hurts, and I might not even work with that area. It might be that I can affect the way that they're moving other places, which will relieve the pressure on the place that's chronically having pain. And the chronic pain could have to do with something structural, like a disc injury or, something broken or out of place. And our bodies are so adaptable. It's like even so hard to like verbally talk about it because it's like you can't even consciously explain how things can actually shift when the body is given different options, ways of moving, because we're usually walking around stuck in our habits. We don't even know that we are because that's the nature of a habit. So this technique is designed to break up these habitual patterns and introduce new ways of functioning so that we're not so tied to our habits that might not be working for us, even if we don't know why.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, like a lot of people now have to do movements that are repetitive movements of their job that we're not designed for, like sitting at a computer all day.
Correct.
And so then we end up with this neck pain, and it's like, well, why do I always feel like my shoulders are so stiff? And we don't clue in, or why do I always have back pain? And we don't think that, well, maybe it's because I'm holding my body in such a way, or I'm limiting my body in such a way, totally unconsciously, this unconscious program.
Exactly.
And so it's almost like, are you helping the body reprogram itself?
Yes, in a way. I was just thinking as you were talking about sitting at a computer, sitting at a desk, because, our bodies are designed for movement. A lot of what I do with people is help them with their posture. But we think of posture as kind of being a position that we hold ourselves in,
right?
Which is actually
like a ballerina,
right? Which is actually kind of getting us into another rigid place,
right?
So I work with a lot of people who sit at computers, and we will kind of play with, I'll show them kind of movements they can do to almost kind of reset their posture, so that their body learns to sit in such a way that they're not using their muscles to hold themselves up. It's more like the skeletal structure that you want to use for support,
right,
so that the muscles can relax and are free for doing things.
Wow, so they're so perfectly balanced that it's like you said, it's being very efficient with their movement and with their body.
So if they have to sit for long periods of time, they're not sitting in such a way that they're like holding themselves up with so much effort.
Right.
So,
well, there's this new injury that people have started acquiring, and it's cell phone neck. And this is a thing, because I actually injured my neck holding a cell phone, with my chin basically to my sternum, looking in my lap at a cell phone for so long that exactly. Yeah, when imagine like your nose is practically touching your bosom because you're staring down at your cell phone.
And then your thumbs kind of get strained too,
right? And my shoulders. But no, I really injured my neck doing that, and my chiropractor said, it's this new thing. It's called, cell phone neck. Just like, 10 years ago, carpal tunnel was this new big thing because everyone was, at their computers with the mouse and the computer. So have you started to see, as we've progressed in the last 10 or so years, have you started to see more and more like technology-based movement limitations or injuries?
I'd say I don't run into cell phone neck too much, but but probably more so the computer neck, I would call it, where people kind of sit for long lengths of time, and so gravity is always pushing down on us, so they might be kind of, naturally we kind of start slumping over as we get older.
Like you're demonstrating that, and your shoulders are slumping, and you're
right. And so then we're sitting here at the computer, but we have to kind of hold our head up somehow, and so the back of the neck, it's really is really working overtime, as opposed to is a way that it's like everything from your legs, your hips, your spine kind of can stack up underneath your head, so that your neck can be free to move. And a lot of it has to do with the level of the computer and where the keyboard is. But this technique, I know there are ergonomic experts that kind of come in and set that up for people, but this almost makes, because everybody's so unique, this technique almost makes the individual kind of in charge of where their body needs to be, because they start to notice like, oh, well, I'm so aware that I'm starting to do this. And then when you catch yourself, because usually people don't slouch symmetrically. It's usually kind of twisted. So they start to notice that they're falling into their pattern. It's like they will naturally start to self-correct. First it might be conscious, but then it starts to happen naturally.
Well, I was going to say, it sounds like you bring people out of this unconsciousness around their body into a state of being consciously aware of their bodies, so that they can bring themselves back into that healthy posture, so that they're the most efficient they can be. So they don't have to think about it, because how many times during the day, I should sit up straight. It's like you want to be able to do it naturally.
Yeah.
When you help people achieve that, do you see that sort of the byproduct of that is that they're then out of pain?
Yeah, back pain can be relieved like so quickly by just kind of shifting the way that you happen to be sitting. Walking, for instance, if people have like a foot pain or knee pain or hip pain, when they walk for long periods of time, just shifting, being able to move your back this way a little bit more. Like, a lot of it is like one side of the body is going to be rigid if the other side can't shift. So a lot of times I'll look at like, okay, if there's a problem over here, what's happening on the other side of the body? Mm-hmm. So when things kind of start to move more in a more balanced way, then, the foot pain goes away because you're not constantly like putting this pressure down on this part that you don't even know that you are, because
Right.
it's kind of how you're supporting your upper body weight.
Right. Right. So basically, anyone who works at a desk should see a Feldenkrais practitioner because they would gain benefit from it.
Well, yeah, I would definitely say anyone that works at a desk. And I've worked with a lot of athletes, recreational athletes, even professional athletes I've worked with. Because Feldenkrais is unique in that it's not a conditioning approach like maybe yoga or Pilates. Like, you're not trying to make your body more flexible or stronger, but it gets more flexible and stronger because you learn to use it more efficiently. So when you go and you actually do your exercising or your sport, you're just way more in tune with how to move in a way that our bodies were basically designed to move, but also within your unique body, and your unique patterns and whatever's happened to you over your life, and all the ways that your body is because a lot of times it's like all these things that have happened to us we kind of hold in our body.
Mm-hmm. Do you see the emotional component that happens when someone finally releases something that's been stuck? Have you ever seen that they have almost like an emotional release?
Oh yeah, yes, I have. And when those things come about, we just can deal with them and just allow them to move through. But I've definitely seen people become much lighter through doing this work. It's like when you are kind of connected to feeling support within yourself through your skeletal structure, like that's physical, right? Mm-hmm. But there's this sense of lightness that comes along with it, mm-hmm. where you move easier and just life seems easier. You get more, you see more options around you because your body is kind of connected to the world in a different way. And so it's like, I see the solution to this problem. And things just, I've had profound experiences like that myself.
Right. And neurologically, if you're helping the body be more efficient, it's the body's using less resources to have to run these programs, like these muscle patterns that are ineffective. So now your body neurologically is freed up. It's like you're working against yourself, but you don't really know how to get out of that until you've been given another experience.
Sure. If you take a Feldenkrais class or a private session, gets even more deeper into it. It's you kind of walk out with a new feeling or a new experience in your body. And that starts to break you out of these unconscious habits, on so many levels, I think.
How long till someone sees results, typically?
One session or one class, people will often notice a big difference. Sometimes it's more dramatic in the beginning. People walk out and, they just feel so much better. They feel a lot better. They feel, maybe their back, if it's back pain, maybe their back pain is gone for 24, 48 hours, and it hasn't for years or something like that. And then, the old habits will start creeping back in, but, that's why oftentimes doing repetitive work is helpful, especially in the beginning, to do a series of classes or private sessions once a week for a while, and so that the body doesn't kind of forget the new things. It gets more. It's kind of I kind of look at it you make progress and then you kind of fall back a little bit because how long you've been moving the way you've been moving, like if you're 45 years old, 45 years you've been doing it this way, or 20 years since that injury you've been like doing this. So
Right.
it takes, so you might fall back a little bit, but also the change might be really, you might notice a really dramatic change, but then and then it seems to go away, but it actually is still there. It's almost like, because it gets integrated in you, so you don't notice it so dramatically in the beginning. So it kind of becomes this gradual change. As a side to that, I mean, I've worked with people 1 or 2 times. They've come in for a hip pain or a back pain, and it's like, that's all they need. Just like they just needed this one little piece.
Right.
And then other people are interested in really continuing and getting better and better and better.
It sounds highly effective. There's not many therapies that you can see a result that quickly. So it sounds very effective.
Yeah, well, I believe it is. Of course.
Well, I'm excited. This is really interesting.
I mean, for me, I got into it, if I might tell a little bit of my story, because I was a dancer and I taught Pilates for many years, but my body, I just had all these little aches and pains, and like just things didn't feel like they moved as well as they did, and this tension and that tension. And I tried, I did so many types of body work, but I went to a Feldenkrais class and I just walked out of there and I was like, this really works. It was like, I just felt the most integrated I ever had felt just after the one class. And, I think I'm unique because I kind of clicked into it really fast. It was like what I'd been looking for my whole life.
Funny, because that was actually my next question, was if you could take us back to that time when you knew you wanted to be a Feldenkrais practitioner. I mean, I saw your bio on your website, and for those who are interested, definitely go to Peggy's website. It's peggyprotz.com. That's PEGGYPROTZ.com.
Mm-hmm.
I was just reading a little bit about your bio, and that you have a degree in dance, and you were in New York City as a dancer, and that you were also a Pilates instructor. So you were helping people. So you were very conscious of your body, and you were also helping people become healthy around their body, because you were doing Pilates in a physical therapy setting.
Yeah, I was working with a lot of professional dancers, and people had injuries and stuff like that. And I just found that I could kind of see why their knee was hurting. Like, oh, because it's because of this. Like, this isn't like just lining up just the way it could. And
Right.
And then showing them like exercises they could do. And I mean, with Pilates, it's more about strengthening and stretching. Mm-hmm. But the exercises I give people now might be more about like, well, just do this movement and feel how this connects to that. And so it's like you're training the exercise is more for training your brain and how you sense your body than necessarily strengthening muscles. Although the right muscles are gonna get strong if you're using your body in the right way.
When was this? Was it back in the 90s that you first had that first Feldenkrais experience?
Yeah, it was about. Well, I experienced it a little bit in New York, but I moved here in '93, and then that's when I started doing it more. That was when I could kind of like pinpoint that class that I went to, where it was like kind of a turning point. It was like, I think I'd walked into the class feeling like just so icky, and I walked out feeling like the world was like, the world was so much easier. like life was so much easier, So
you had a really bad case of the Mondays. Yeah. And you walked out feeling like it was Friday.
I think the class was on Monday, actually.
And you walked out and you're like, it's Friday. Yeah. Okay, we're all signing up for your class. I think everyone is right now Googling the closest Feldenkrais practitioner, because we all experience that. We all feel really icky, and to know that you could do something so simple as get back in touch with your body. Mm-hmm. And then have that experience. I'm really intrigued, and I'm really excited to be here talking to you. I have so many more questions for you. Definitely going to have you back on the show. We'll have to learn in the next episode that we.
Maybe I'll give you a little 2-minute experience.
We definitely have to have you come back and teach our listeners a little bit of what they can do to experience Feldenkrais. So thank you so much for being on the show.
Oh, you're very welcome. It's my pleasure. I'm so glad to be here.
Looking for even more ways to feel and look healthy? come to learntruehealth.com and get our free healthy cookbook. There are some delicious recipes and they're super healthy for you. All you have to do is visit learntruehealth.com.